Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Anfield Index for another episode of the Daily Red podcast. And I'm a little bit washed out, so I'm going to change that. There we go. Anfield Index, Daily Red podcast. Thank you so much for coming in. Make sure to like and subscribe because we're going to go over essentially Arne Slot's press conference today ahead of the Brighton match tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It's, as it says in the description down below, if it can come up for me, it is essentially crunch time now for Salah. So according to Slot, this whole press conference, let's face it, the whole thing was always going to be about Mo Salah, regardless of Brighton, regardless of the situation. There was discussion on injuries, which we'll touch upon. He talked about other facets of everything that's going on. But the main topic of conversation, as everyone expected, was always going to be Mohamed Salah. Will he be involved in the squad? Will he not be involved in the squad? Will he start? Will he be on the bench? Is he going to leave? Who knows? But every question that you can think of was peppered towards Slot today. And before we get into that, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Go check out the Substack. It was always liverpool.com. And yeah, there's plenty of content coming out. Obviously, there was Moby on the spot yesterday, which is amazing. I'm going to be doing Daily Red today as well as tomorrow. So there's plenty to talk about there. And yeah, let's just get into the sort of the nitty-gritty of it. So this was Slot's comments regarding Mo Salah ahead of the Brighton match tomorrow, which, by the way, is a massive, massive game for us. Brighton are one place ahead of us in the table. We've got a chance to leapfrog them or compete for them. So it's a big win if we can get it. It's a massive game. We have to win. We have to win every game at this point. Let's face it, if we want any hopes of top four, I think. But Brighton's a massive one. It's a game that notoriously in the past we've struggled with. Very recently we've struggled with. So it's big for us to go into this full of confidence, full of momentum. And following the Inter Milan match, you'd think that would be the case, but no, the topic is still, of course, talking about Mo. And Slot said today during his press conference, he's not answering any questions about Mo Salah. He essentially shut it down. People would ask. Wasn't having any of it. Just said, no, I'm not answering questions about him. This is a team performance. We've got Brighton this weekend. We need to focus on that. And he said, I will have a conversation with Mo this morning, and the outcome of that will determine what happens tomorrow. Which is a big thing, because the Salah incident occurred a week ago tomorrow. 6 days ago, this incident happened after the Leeds 3-3 draw. It's been 6 days, and a conversation is only now just being had. Now, that's not to say other conversations have taken place behind the scenes over the past few days. There's been rumours that Slot has had meetings with Salah. There's been discussions of Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards being involved. The whole club right now is trying to sort out this Salah situation. He's a megastar. He's Liverpool's talisman, or he has been in the past. Is he now? Remains to be seen. But this whole situation has brought it to a head, and discussions are being had internally. Every person behind the scenes, every single person with a Twitter, myself included, is examining the situation. And Slot coming out today and saying, look, we'll have this conversation. It just feels very like it's been left to the last minute, perhaps on purpose. If you're Slot right now, I understand not taking him to the Inter match. I completely get that. But the moment this discussion happened, we're in the mix zone for Salah. It should have been dealt with straight away. He should have been spoken to immediately. There should have been a discussion around it, which there may well have been. But if the club are holding out, like Slot said after that Inter match, saying, look, if the person who has the problem is the one who makes a mistake, should they not be the one to apologise? If they're holding out for a Salah apology, it's not going to happen. He wouldn't have calculated, and it is calculated, by the way, the mix zone debacle against Leeds. He wouldn't have planned it, orchestrated it, coordinated everything to then immediately go back on it a couple of days later and say, I'm sorry. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't. So if the club are holding out for Mo to come back with an apology, it is not going to happen. And this match against Brighton could very well be the last time that Mo Salah, he might not even play. This could be it. We might not see Mo again. We may not see Mo Salah ever again in this Liverpool team, which is heartbreaking. If this is the situation that we find ourselves in, where it's broken down so much behind the scenes, and in the space of 6 months, we've gone from winning the Premier League in convincing fashion. By the time we'd won it, I know we dropped off afterwards, but we'd won the Premier League. Mo signed a new 2-year contract. Van Dijk signed a new contract. He's saying how much he loves the manager because he lets him play the way he wants to. We've signed all these big money players. We've brought in Isak. We've brought in Vert, Ekitike, Frimpong, Kerkez, etc. to now we're in a situation where there's no relationship between the two. Salah feels as though he needs to leave, and the way of which it's being gone about, going to the mix zone 4 times, he's only done it during his time at Liverpool. One was when he broke the goal scoring record in his first season with us, when he scored that goal against Brighton, ironically, in the final day of the season. The next was after we won the Champions League in 2019. The next was obviously the Southampton match where he was mentioning his contract, and this is the 4th, all of which paint him in a good light, or he's asking for something. If we've got to this point again, after just winning the league and going through all the situations that we went through last season, we've gone through the Jota incident. We've seen many key departures from the squad. We've seen so many players come in. If this is how it ends with Mo, it's heartbreaking, because he's someone who I think very much is the greatest right winger in Premier League history. People have short-term memories, and they will use this season as an example of, well, he's not good enough. He's washed. Everyone's saying that Salah's done, and that seems to taint his legacy in the eyes of the outside fans or rival fans' perspectives. Mo is brilliant. He's a record breaker. He's one of our top goal scorers, top appearance makers. He is everything to this club. He is an enigma of a player. And let me just see if I can get that. There we go. The timer kept going off for the thing. But no, like Mo, this is how it ends with him being upset because he's on the bench and promises not being kept. But this is the big one. Everyone's given their thoughts on the Salah thing recently, so I'm not going to go too much into the sort of what he said in the mix zone. But Mo talked about promises, and he said that things aren't being kept. Someone at the club doesn't want me here. If the club, there's a few different avenues. If the club didn't want him there, they would have just let him go at the end of his contract last summer. So it's nothing to do with him personally. The club may well have been looking for a financial investment. We've just spent £500 million. They could have signed him on a contract with the aim of moving him on next summer, but maybe the poor form, maybe Salah's poor form, maybe everything going on around the scenes has facilitated the move being moved forward, and maybe there has been an outcry of, right, can we start to phase Salah out? We need to start looking to the next phase of this team, because Mo isn't going to be here forever. That's something that we've struggled with notoriously in the past. When we lost Suarez, there was no sort of contingency in place. We panic bought all the players that we could around us, and it didn't work. When Owen left, things worked out in the end of us winning the Champions League, but the league form started to falter a bit. We were relying on Peter Crouch coming in and making a difference, and a few other players. But this one, it feels as though the contingency plan is there. There's a plan in place, and that's something which is rubbing Mo the wrong way, possibly. I don't think he likes the idea of not being the star man in this team. I don't think he enjoys the idea of not being the player that everyone depends upon. He's so influential. Even this season, even in bad form, he has put out our best creative numbers, goal creating actions, shot creating actions, through balls, switches. He is still important in the creative aspect. And I don't think he enjoys the idea of Florian Wirtz coming in, potentially becoming the star man, Isak, Ekitike, having to compete with all these players around him. Whereas in the past, as very recently as last season, it was essentially told to everyone, if you come in, Salah's the guy. Salah's the man who you get the ball to, and he will make things happen. Now, it's been spread out amongst an entirety of attack-minded, aggressive players, and that might be something that he doesn't enjoy. That could be one of the promises. The other one's obviously the bench situation. And look, Salah needs to understand that this is a team game, and right now we are in poor form. If his ego can't tolerate not being on the starting lineup for 3 matches in a row, then there's a real problem there. 45 minutes against Sunderland, fine. He came on at half-time, brilliant. I can understand the frustration maybe not getting any time at Leeds, and there's been different perspectives of it. Some people have said they wouldn't have brought him on, i.e. Jamie Carragher. Some people have said they would, i.e. Steven Gerrard. For me, I was stunned that he didn't start the Sunderland game. I'm even more stunned that he didn't get any minutes against Leeds. We were flying at 2-0, but as soon as we started to struggle, we could have probably done with him there, just to give us a bit more of a creative outlet, just as someone extra up top who could have maybe pushed for goal. I don't know. If that's what's frustrating him, is missing 3 games, not playing the full 90 minutes, then there's a real problem there. And maybe it is best if he does move on, because we can't have people who are kicking up that much of a fuss. Ronaldo did it during his second spell at United, and it was a mess. Other players have came out in the past and criticised managers. Lukaku did it at Chelsea. Albert Riera went on Radio Marca and started decimating Rafa Benitez to try and facilitate the removal of the manager or himself from the club. There was no sort of in between. Raheem Sterling, he didn't slate Brendan Rodgers, but he went on that BBC interview back in 2014. There's been examples of players doing this, but the big difference is all of them were not the star man. Maybe Sterling had a push at that time but Salah is the big name. He's the draw. He reaches every demographic on earth. He's one of these star players, one of the best players in the world, best right winger in Premier League history. To come out and say what he did, there's no issue with me if you've got a problem with the club. There is no issue if you have things going on and you want to express yourself to the manager, if you want to explain the situation to him. You don't come out in a public forum unless it's calculated and choreographed. To go to the public, not even, it's just people in the mix zone hoping to catch a snippet of an interview. To go to them knowing that the word would spread like a virus everywhere and everyone would hear it is calculated, premeditated, and it's unnecessary to do. And now Slot is having to say, look, no more Salah talk. This is about the team. We've just gone to the San Siro and beaten Inter Milan, the Champions League finalists from last season and 2 years prior against Man City. Clean sheet at the San Siro, the first team to win there in Europe since 2022. And some of the teams they've beaten on along the way, by the way, are not pushovers. We've done an amazing thing, and the whole narrative is still Salah, Salah, Salah. He's getting what he wants by having the attention entirely be on him. And I love Salah, and I don't want him to leave. I want him to stay. I want there to be a way to work this out. But the going away to AFCON has pushed this whole interview into the stratosphere because he's viewed this as the perfect time to say what he wants and then dip. And that's, if he wants to play that game, fine. Slot handled the situation, I think, as well as he could. He said himself when discussing, leaving him out at the Inter Milan game, if I can find the news article here, we decided as a club, and I was part of that decision, not to take him to the Inter Milan game. When it comes to the decision-making of the lineup or the squad, that is down to me. But that is not to say I don't talk to them. There will be people who are coming out left, right, and centre regarding this Salah situation and saying, Salah's right, Slot's right, the club's wrong, Salah's wrong, Slot's wrong. If this was under Jurgen Klopp, I think there'd be a rallying cry from fans. If Salah had said exactly what he'd said about Jurgen Klopp, I think the majority of fans would have been coming out and saying, Mo needs to go. We stand by the manager. Because Slot's in a difficult situation, because he finds himself at a time where a draw to Leeds and Sunderland is being viewed as positive results, two newly promoted teams, because we picked up a win against West Ham, Salah's seen this as the perfect time to attack, thinking that the fan base, given how vocal we've been about the Slot situation, whether he stays, whether he goes, and I think majority of us lean towards the going option, he's thought fans will unite behind me, which is fine. It's not fine if he thinks it, but I understand his logic to it. And maybe he's tried to push forward for the best of himself, maybe the club. But the moment he starts coming out and saying, this club, the club that's given him everything, and vice versa, by the way, not saying it doesn't go both ways, is throwing him under the bus, is daft. When Slot says himself there, he picks the lineup. He decides what happens. He literally says, right here, I decided that he would not be taking part in the game. Obviously, I talked to Hughes and I talked to Edwards, but Slot makes a decision. To go at the club and say, someone doesn't want me at the club, and then later in the same interview, come out and say, oh, I don't know. I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. It's unfounded criticism. To say that there's no communication between himself and Slot, and then later in the same discussion in the mix zone say, yeah, we talked about it at length. He's counteracting everything he's saying. It's gone in there. It's premeditated. And as it's gone on, it's delved into what's going to get me the most tension, what's going to cause the most drama, what's going to cause the most complications. And that is not acceptable. And if he doesn't play against Brighton, doesn't feature against Brighton, goes to AFCON and leaves, he will completely tarnish his legacy. He's won us great things, but everyone remembers how players depart. Torres, amazing player. Majority of people remember his departure to Chelsea. Sterling, no one even comments on how good he was for us during that 14-15 season, or 13-14 as well, because he went to City. Suarez, brilliant player. Everyone loves him, adores him. still gets mentioned that he left us in the manner of which he did and the biting incident. People remember these scenarios. McManaman, Madrid, most talked about point. Owen, Madrid, most talked about point. Brilliant players. But the way you leave and the way you conduct yourself in these final few months, if this is his final few months, is a determining factor in how people remember you going forward. So for Mo, he needs to be very careful how he's handling this. He's telling his family to go to the Brighton match, which if he didn't, he then says later on, I don't know if I'm going to be in the lineup. I don't know what's going to happen. If you're not going to be in that squad, why are you telling your family to go? I think he knows this is his farewell. And if it is, it's heartbreaking, it's devastating, and it's soul destroying. But it is what it is. You can't come out and publicly slander the club because ultimately players come, players go. Everyone supports the club. Individual players are loved and remembered, but you can't be doing it. There's a lot of comments that have come in, so I'll go through some of them and then we'll progress on. Hey, for me, I think LFC could have avoided this from happening. Whenever we lost the game, then the first person they blame is Salah for not defending. But in the meantime, our defense don't defend. And the end goes on to say, Salah was wrong to come out and speak to the media. But like he said, every week when we lost, Salah was to blame. But LFC could have come out and defended him, but we did not. So the club is to blame as well. It's a very good point. Because in that regard, Mo, he talked about being thrown under the bus, scapegoated. And to an extent, I think he's absolutely right in that regard. I think he is absolutely correct in that regard, where he was constantly being targeted as the one to blame, not providing a great deal on the pitch for the club, and people were really sort of getting fed up of him in our group, the Red Room group, which you can see that every week. There was a discussion over he's been one of our worst players, if not the worst. He's not been contributing. He hasn't done anything, maybe since Atletico Madrid, which was months ago now. But I think the main reason for it is Salah's set a standard for himself so high. Literally, last season, the best season in terms of goals and assists combined anyone's had in the 38-game Premier League season. He equaled the record set by Andy Cole and Alan Shearer on 42 matches. That's how good of a campaign it was. And he carried us at points last season. I always mention Newcastle away. He dragged us to a point in that match. He actually dragged us to 3, if not for Kelleher's mistake in the last minute. So he at points was just the driving force for that whole team. Now, when we're struggling, it's talked upon that he doesn't approach the media, he doesn't address the media, which is fine. I get it. Maybe that's not his role. Maybe he doesn't want to, which is cowardly, to be fair, but it is what it is. People might be looking at him and saying, why can't you do that again? Because you're playing the exact same way. You're not tracking back and defending like you did last season. The role was get him the ball, make something happen. You can score goals. Why are you not dragging us through this spell like Szoboszlai is doing currently? Why can you not carry us over the line? That's why he's been targeted. It's not because he individually is causing the errors. No one has been great this season apart from maybe Szoboszlai, Jones, and at a push Ekitike. Van Dijk's had errors as well. But Salah has set such a high standard for himself that now that he's dipped to this level where even last season, when he wasn't contributing in matches, he was still getting goals and assists. Now that's not even happening. So naturally, everyone focuses on him. If Suarez had done 13-14 and then went to 14-15 and had the season where he wasn't scoring or assisting, but he was playing every match, but wasn't doing anything to help the overall team, the same narrative would be spanned towards him. It's just a fact of life. That's why he's being mentioned all the time. Salah took a drop to cover his terrible form. He is 33 now. He should not be playing every game now. He wants his records over what's best for the team. Yeah, last season. So in the final 9 matches last season, he picked up 2 goals and 1 assist, Mohamed Salah. And there was clear signs there of dip. I know we'd won the league. We sort of took our foot off the gas. Everyone was in Dubai or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he's an individualist in terms of the records he wants to achieve. I said the other day on Red Room, if he had been asked that same question that Trent got asked of, would you prefer the captaincy? Would you prefer to win the World Cup? What would you rather win the Ballon d'Or? Salah, I think, would be thinking Ballon d'Or, or he would say the Ballon d'Or. He's an individualist in terms of the things that he wants to achieve because he's always felt like a player who feels like he has a point to prove after the Chelsea spell and all the other stuff. He's always felt like someone who has a point to prove. I am the best. This is how good I am. I want to be ranked alongside the likes of Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe at their peaks, Haaland. So, yeah, he's that type of caliber of player. And now that it's not happening, Now he has got into a strop about it. Slot isn't helping with his 13 fit player comment when he's not bothered talking to his best attacker since Tuesday. Spot is absolutely right, and I will see if I can find the comment today, because he essentially said he's happy that we went out of the Carabao Cup, which it definitely rubbed me up the wrong way. I'm not going to lie. I've said numerous times that the Carabao Cup is an important competition. The quote hasn't been put up just yet, but essentially he just said, look, we have a very weak squad right now. There's a lot of injuries, and he's happy that we sort of, I found this one, but this will sort of, Slot comes out and says, Federico Chiesa is not ill anymore. He trained yesterday and will train again today. I assume he's ready. And on Cody and Endo, their injuries, it's going to be weeks. And then later on, he said something along the lines of, I'm kind of glad that we went out of the Carabao Cup, which is daft, because at the moment where we can't buy a win, a trophy run and a trophy win would be massive for us at this point in time, just to alleviate some pressure for himself. So, no, I completely agree. And then not speaking to Salah, leaving it 6 days. I understand not speaking to him during the sort of inter build-up, but you've had days to do this now. While Mo's off with Jordan Henderson, people sharing that round, coming from the rag of a newspaper, people have been sharing around. Yeah, this could have been dealt with sooner, not the day before the match, when I'm assuming the plan has already been made for who is starting that match. So, yeah. Maka and Robbo have been dropped more than Mo, and I've said zilch. Robbo is a great example of someone who's been a regular, influential first teamer for the past near decade, has been dropped for Kerkez at points, and he hasn't come out and complained. He said, all right, I'm going to fight then. If anything, Mo has been dropped, and there's no competition for him, so he should realise sooner rather than later, I am going to make my way back into this starting 11, because your only option otherwise is Chiesa, and Chiesa's not going to play a game, so yeah. And then someone to say, well, Maka and Robbo hasn't scored 250 goals now, have they? Again, very true. I think that's why he's probably looking at it as, look at everything I've achieved, yet I'm the one who's getting the most criticism. But it's because you've scored all those goals and won everything you have, that's why you're getting the criticism, because there's a higher standard expected of you. Don't whine about injuries unless they're senior players if you want to carry on with the beef. Sure. So then why can't we blame Gakpo for his form? I mean, Gakpo's here 3 years now and still not near 50 goals in all comps for us. So why not blame someone else that doesn't score or assist goals? And Gakpo has come in for criticism. Let's not make two things about it. Gakpo himself has come in a lot for criticism. I think last season, look at, he had dips in form and great form. Gakpo's always been someone who's been on the edge of being criticised by the fan base. And this season, he's deserved it. Yet in the Liverpool squad at the moment for Cody Gakpo, he's the highest in terms of goals and assists combined in the Premier League. He's on 4 goals, which is the joint second highest with Salah behind Ekitike. And then he's got 3 assists, which is the most in the Liverpool squad. So Gakpo is not contributing a vast amount of numbers just yet, but I think that's why a lot of the criticism isn't maybe pushed onto him as well, because we don't expect that stupidly high standard as we do at Salah. By the way, Slot saying he's happy that we're out of the League Cup should be enough to sack him. I did disagree with that comment massively. I love the League Cup. I think if you'd have gone on a run there and maybe done something with it, it really does help out massively. Only Van Dijk, Ibu, and Szoboszlai have played more minutes. What's he crying about? It's because the 3 matches dropped. I can understand. In his eyes, maybe it's a sort of, we need to improve. How do we do that? Okay, drop Salah. And then suddenly, I think if we'd have been loss, I don't think he'd be as seething. But the fact that we won against West Ham, drew against Sunderland, when maybe we shouldn't have, and then the draw against Leeds, which we were winning for big portions of it, maybe that sort of rubbed them up the wrong way. And now Inter as well, that's definitely not helping. But Salah should go to Saudi and then the 2.5 million a week, where he's at least appreciated. He's appreciated here, just not when he's making comments. Managers come and managers go too. Remember when Mo said in 2024 April, if he spoke, there will be fire. Klopp left that summer, and next season Mo won the Prem. I mean, we started to see the cracks of Salah's ego then, I suppose, with Klopp during that West Ham match where, that there was a whole argument about it. Mo's always been teetering on the edge of this point of, he coming out and saying something that he shouldn't, and he did it loads last season. This is my final match against Man United. This is my final match against Everton. I'm more out than in. I still haven't been offered a contract. The argument with Klopp. He's always been that sort of egotist because that's what drives him forward. But now that he's taken direct shots at the club, that's when it becomes a major issue for everyone. Players come and go. LFC always remain, and those Johnny come lately. Mo fans just follow Mo to Saudi. Yes, best season after a very poor season where we went after the manager twice in the mix zone. Slot is just the transition coach until we find the one. If our transition coach is winning us the Premier League, I'm fine with that. Ekatike only dipped after Slot reprimanded for scoring a late-minute winner versus the Saints. Yes, he did actually. That's a very good point. That's when he started to dip a little bit. So maybe there's something to that. So how many times can Salah act like it before he doesn't? Salah is a winner. That's why he acts like that. Otherwise, he'd be happy sitting on the bench. I think that was a point that Gerrard made, actually. And he was saying, like, I'm happy that he's this upset about not being in the starting lineup. Like, he'd be more concerned if he was happy to sit on the bench and get his pay and not actually, and not progress off the bench, which is absolutely true. I'm glad that he does feel this aggrieved by the situation. It shows he wants to play. He wants to contribute. He wants to win things. And I love that. I do prefer that as a way of expressing himself. I like that he's this committed to the situation, but there's a way of going about it. Had he just spoke behind closed doors, had he given the discussion to Slot, had he approached him, which he says he did, and then later says that there's no relationship and no communication, then this wouldn't have happened. But we don't know Slot's side of it. We don't know what's been said, what he said to Salah. We don't know what's going on fully behind closed doors. We only have the news of the one player who's came out and said this publicly, and that's where we are now. For me, I think Salah would be better off leaving our club. Think about it. Darwin, Diaz, Sobbo were our go-to press guys this season. I think that's last season as well. Hugo and Gakpo is our first line of defense, and they're poor in pressing. I think we do miss Nunez. I think we do miss having that sort of violent press up top because Salah's not doing it, and that's just a fact. Mo has not been great since Ramadan. It's a long time now. Salah is not Messi or Ronaldo. They were consistent players. Last season, we won the ball high up and then slotted straight behind the defense for Salah to run in behind. Not this season. Teams play out with confidence because our first line of press is very weak. And then, it's a very different way in which we play this season. I think that Slot signed all these players in the hopes that they'll be able to implement the style that he wants. And that's not happening. There's a big, big struggle right now in this Liverpool squad, trying to find a way to fit everyone in. And against Inter, it was itchy. Against Inter, we seem to have found the system that worked for us. Utilising the two strikers, they could drift out wide if they wanted to. Szoboszlai would occasionally drift out to the right. We went to a 4-2-4 style formation, and it worked out for us. And we also played in the diamond. When Salah was in that squad, it feels as though the whole thing is predicated on get him the ball, but then he would become isolated. So he'd cut back inside, pass it to the midfield, or try and cross it in. And it went nowhere. It went nowhere. Absolutely no one was getting on to the end of anything. So we're looking a more deadly side without him being included in the squad, which is heartbreaking to say, but it is what it is. Let me see if I can find I'm going to get the Slot interview up now because there was plenty to say from Slot himself. There we go. Also, if you haven't seen it already, go check out the Molby on the Spot interview yesterday. It was brilliant hearing him talking about Mo Salah. I love Jan Molby. I really, really do. So, according to Arne Slot, he's provided a fitness update on Federico Chiesa. Federico Chiesa trained yesterday and is ready to be in the squad again tomorrow. Will Chiesa get minutes? I'd imagine he will, surely, because if he doesn't, there's a major, major issue in and around this squad at the moment. It's so ironic that as soon as Salah isn't included in the team and as soon as Cody Gakpo isn't in the team, Chiesa goes down with a mystery illness. And now Slot saying he is more than likely going to be back. Arne Slott's comment on Liverpool going 4 games unbeaten. He said, I think apart from being unbeaten, we've shown we are a team that are difficult to beat and create chances against. It's a compliment to the players that were available. Now, it's true Inter couldn't really create much against us and West Ham couldn't really create much against us. However, we conceded 3 against Leeds in really questionable circumstances. Yes, there was Konate mistakes. Yes, against Sunderland, there was the Van Dijk deflection that came off his arse, basically. But it's true. Teams are starting to struggle that little bit more when it comes to breaking us down in terms of actually finding a way to beat us. And that's great to see. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted for a long time. We wanted players. He said against the Inter game, we defended as 11 players. Whether that was Ajayi or Salah or not, I don't know. But we look a bit more stable. It's not the most exciting football to watch, but I don't care about that. At the moment, as things stand, Liverpool aren't in a situation where we necessarily need to go out, blow teams away 4-5, 6-0 just to make a statement win. Because we did that against Frankfurt earlier this season, and then immediately we lost straight away. I'm comfortable and happy with the stability that these wins against West Ham, wins against Inter Milan are giving us. It's nothing flash, it's nothing flair, it's nothing too exciting, but it's stable, it's structured, and I want that. That's what we've been lacking for large portions of this season is defensive talent and ability and tactics in those situations. We have that at the moment. So now going into this match against Brighton, who I think that the 4th highest goal scorers in the league this season, which is mental. We've got some of the best attacking players in the squad. Danny Welbeck's on 7 goals this season. You've also got Mitoma in there. You've got Minter, who's a dangerous player in terms of breaking down play and running at people. It's going to be tested, and it's a real test for Slot to see if these players are galvanized following the Salah instance and the Inter Milan match. Are we still going to be defensively structured? Are we still going to be able to put up a good block in that back line with 11 players behind the ball when we need to? I'm excited to see. Also, in the press conference, he talked about injuries. Have injuries changed Liverpool's January plans? I think it's helpful in the upcoming weeks we don't play as many games as now. I'm almost happy that we're at the League Cup. So I found the quote. If Liverpool don't go into the January transfer window with the plan of potentially bringing someone in, then more fool us. I don't think you can go into this transfer window without any sort of inkling of bringing in maybe a centre-back, given the fact that Konate's still not signed a new contract, or a winger, given the fact that Salah may not be here when he comes back from AFCON. Like, for a club that is so renowned for being proactive, not reactive, and a club that is so confident in their transfer plans and structure, and we're not a club that particularly rush into deals. This summer has proven how calculated we can be, and we're willing to wait. If we go into January without any intention of potentially bringing in more wide players, when Gakpo's now injured, Chiesa still isn't getting minutes, Ngamo is 17 and being trusted on the left wing, Salah may not be here. We've got to reinforce those areas of the pitch. And in the back line, you've got Konate, who may not be here much longer. Van Dijk is in his mid-30s. Gomez is doing great at the moment, but he's playing right back and he is still injury prone. We've got to strengthen these areas of the pitch, or this season could easily go from bad to worse. There could be major ramifications if we don't address these problems and move forward correctly. So we do need to sort that out. If we don't get guys, do you think we go for Sergio Ramos for half a season? He is a free agent. I don't think Ramos is going to be welcomed at Anfield anytime soon. Really don't think he will. Even though Mo's causing issues, I don't think any Liverpool fan out there is wanting Sergio Ramos anywhere near Anfield. And we're talking about perhaps Van Dijk's legs being gone. Ramos is 40 now, something like that. So no, I don't think Ramos is particularly the player that we should be going out and looking to bring in at the moment to add fuel to the fire. He's not exactly the calmest head. Also, Arne Slot confirmed that Alexander Isak got a knock against Inter and is a doubt for tomorrow's match against Brighton. Yet another knock for Alexander Isak, who didn't do a great deal against Inter, but I didn't think he was bad. it wasn't a bad game for him. He wasn't getting the service he needs. It felt like him and Ekitike were often trying to run the same patterns of play. They were constantly getting in each other's way. There was no contingency there. They couldn't connect well, and Isak struggled with it. Ekitike the same for that first half, definitely. But he will get there, hopefully. But these knocks need to stop, because it feels like every match, even when he looks fine, he's still coming off the pitch and he's had a knock. I think he's already had like 3-4 injuries since arriving at us, which for someone we spent the money on and we waited so long to sign, when we could have been going out and using that money to bring in a Gahey, who we really could have done with portions this season, or another winger. It's not justifying the decision to stick with him as long as we did. So we do need to sort that out. The starting lineup for Liverpool, see if I can get this to appear on the screen. Let's see. There we go. Let's see if this works. It actually does as well. I'm happy with that. So what would be the Liverpool lineup for this match? Let's put in England. There we go. England. And then we'll go to the Premier League. And then we'll go to Liverpool. And then it should load up. There we go. So this is the Liverpool lineup that featured in the last match. This is the lineup that played against Inter Milan. Is this going to be the same lineup? I highly doubt it. I really, really highly doubt that this is going to be the way that we would play against Brighton this weekend. As you can see, it was Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate, Gomez, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Jones, Isak, McAllister, and Ekitike. Also, there's a comment saying, logic dictates for the January transfer window, Semenyo cover for Gakpo, Wharton cover for McAllister, and Gahey cover for Konate. Mo apologised to the slot and the board today. Happy days, ain't it? If that scenario plays out, I'd be thrilled. Are we gonna? Semenyo, I think, would overtake Gakpo in that starting lineup personally. Although Slot does have a weird thing for Gakpo at the minute, so maybe not. Wharton cover for McAllister. Wharton would start over McAllister at the moment, but I don't think anyone in that midfield is particularly droppable at the moment. Maybe at a push, Gravenberch on current form, but who knows? And then Gahey cover for Konate, 100%. Konate should not be on the pitch. He was good against Inter Milan, don't get me wrong, but let's not get carried away with it. But yeah, this was the squad that actually played the other day against Inter Milan. And let me see if I can find the Brighton setup for you. Premier League. And then we'll go to Brighton. And then it should come up for us in a second. Love this thing so much. There we go. This was the team that they played in their last match. Obviously, it would probably change. Minte would probably come out onto the left. Would probably stay out onto the right even. And I imagine on the left-hand side, you would probably have... If I can find him. There we go. Let me just... Here's the away bench. Mitoma's out injured, actually, which is a really, really good thing for us. That's probably why he's not going to be in. So, yeah, this was the team that played the other day. Of the Liverpool lineup, who do I think would be involved? So, Endo may not be involved. We don't particularly know yet whether he's going to be involved in the squad. Is he going to have any sort of influence? Slot said today he's got an ankle knock, so he might not. This isn't my starting lineup, by the way. This is just the one that played the other day. We will change it. So, Kirkes will probably be on the bench, of course. This is, Florian Wirtz. Would Salah be there? Probably not. Conor Bradley, Federico Chiesa. Let's just put Cody Gakpo there, because why not? And then who else has been on the bench lately? He mentioned Lucky, Ngamoa. And then how many is that? Yeah. So who's going to start? Because like Giovanni Sotti says, Maka won't be starting. And I completely agree. He will not be starting. McAllister, not a chance is he going to start in that midfield. It would be Florian Wirtz. And I think that a big, big deciding factor of that is the fact that McAllister played the full 90 against Inter. Slot would not be playing McAllister a full 90 minutes if he didn't think he was going to get any kind of rest against Brighton. And I think Wirtz, the way he's playing at the moment in this system, the way he works in that number 10 role, he's got expression. He can go left. He can go to the left wing. He can go into the right wing. But also, there we go. He sort of goes into these areas up top. I'm still learning this board, by the way, so just sort of bear with me a bit. But yeah, Wirtz has got the opportunity. He can go up onto the left wing at the top. That seems to be something that he's been doing a lot this season, but it's this areas of the pitch really where he needs to operate in the number 10 role. You've then got Isak, you've got Ekitike. If Isak doesn't start, we could potentially sort of revert back to this system. We could go back to the... So if I can move Ekitike into the middle. If Isak's had a knock, he is probably not going to start. It will probably be Federico Chiesa on the right-hand side. I hope, I really, really hope. And then it'd be Gravenberch, Jones, and Dominic Szoboszlai. If Isak's had a knock, they're not going to risk him. Because while Salah's going to AFCON, he's still got a lot of games to play. We've still got Champions League coming up. We've got the first round of the FA Cup on the 10th of January, not long. I know that's like a month away, but what I mean is the fixtures are condensed at the moment. This month, we've still got Tottenham. We've still got Wolves on the 27th. Tottenham's the 20th, I believe. There's plenty of matches still to come. Like someone says, Wirtz, Jones, Grav, and Dom. Yeah, which I can absolutely see. And he's saying 4-4-2 will be the formation, in my opinion. Which, you know what, it could be. So let's say if we're doing the sort of 4-4-2, then is it? Wirtz going out to the left hand side? Because keep in mind, like I said, Isak might not be in the squad. Wirtz, Jones, Gravenberch, Ekitike, and then what? Maybe Chiesa plays in the middle there. Szoboszlai sort of drifts out onto the right hand side. Because I think at the moment, the issue you've got is Jones is undroppable. Jones cannot be taken out of this team. The way he played against Inter, he is so integral to the way in which we play. I don't think there's any way you can take him out of this squad currently. Curtis Jones. He's brilliant. He's too important to the squad. He's our best controller of the ball, best pass completion rate. Great going forward, can cover the fullback areas if one of them ventures forward. So let's say, for example, I don't expect Robertson to start this match. I expect Robertson to be dropped out. It will probably be Kerkez who starts in this one in the left-back position. Maybe Gomez comes out and we put Conor Bradley at right back. That's a possibility also because Bradley was rested against Inter, which is a really big thing. Kanate, Van Dijk are obviously going to start. And then Jones, he says Jones will be deeper. So say we have Jones sort of dropping into this area, Gravenberch slightly ahead of him. You've got the option of the two of them sort of rotating around one another. If I can, let's see how this works. So we sort of do that. Nope, that's the wrong. There we go, clear drawings. Let's try that. Curved arrow. So we go like that. Those two sort of rotating around one another. And then Wirtz drifting out onto the left-hand side. He's someone who's able to cut back inside if he needs to. Maybe Kerkez is going to go forward. Maybe that's when Jones sort of drops into that left-back position. Wirtz then can cut inside. You move into that 4-4-2 style formation, but Jones and Kerkez have rotated. It depends how they're all going to be utilised. It depends how they are going to be used in this match because Brighton defensively are there for the taking. If I can find the actual stats for them this season. Brighton have conceded... where are your goals against? There we go. Like if you're going through, they conceded 2 against Everton, 1 against Manchester City, 1 against Bournemouth, 2 against Tottenham, 1 against Chelsea, 1 against Wolves, 1 against Newcastle, 4 against Man United, 2 against Arsenal, 1 against Brentford, 4 against Aston Villa, and 1 against West Ham. So there's a lot. They do concede a lot of goals, this Brighton setup. And it does depend. If Matoma's not fit, that's a big benefit for us. Minte on the right-hand side. I think Kerkez is probably more suited to handle his aggressive style. Like I said, he creates the most shot-creating actions in this Brighton team. He's also got the most progressive carries of anyone in the Brighton team. Kerkez is going to be more equipped to deal with that. Wirtz and Dom will be in the advanced positions. I think he stays with the diamond, which is absolutely a possibility. So if we're playing it, so we've got Wirtz. So say he goes to Wirtz. Let's say we have Dom. Dom predominantly sort of stays on the right-hand side. So if we do Wirtz, you want Jones deeper. Move Kerkez left back. Jones, Gravenberch. it's so awkward. It's such an awkward thing because, like I said, if there is no Isak, you're relying on Ekitike to be that focal point, and that's what's making me think that we'd go back to sort of 4-3-3 because there's no Gakpo either, so we don't have a lot of wingers. But then you've only got one striker, so how are you going to sort of influence that? The only way I can see it is if Wirtz plays on that left wing, Chiesa goes on the right, and then you have the midfield three of Jones, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai. And I think that is probably the way that he's going to attempt to do it. I don't think you can just keep. He's not going to stick with the exact same model that he did against Inter. I just don't see that happening. I do think that there is going to be a sense of we're very short out wide. There's only one central attacker at the moment if Isak's going to be on the bench and he has had a knock. This is the lineup I think you'll go with. McAllister's not going to start, given the full 90 that he played the other day against Inter. Jones is undroppable. Szoboszlai, same with him. Wirtz at the moment's going to start because he didn't start against Inter and he was brilliant when he came on. And as I say, you've got the option of him coming inside. You've got Szoboszlai who can also go into that area. You can sort of go into a 4-2-4 style formation. Jones maybe could swap places with Kerkez. Kerkez goes forward. You then sort of fall into that style of formation, like a 4-1-4-1 type. It's flexible. It's a very flexible formation because of the players we've got. Yeah, I hope this is not as predictable as I pointed out. I hope you and Giovanni are right about this flexibility. I would look. I think that this is the problem that Slot's had so much this season is he's so rigid in his approach. He's so one-track minded to the way that he wants to play. And now, recently, he's been a bit more adventurous with it. And it didn't work against Leeds, but it worked wonders against Inter Milan because everyone stuck to their system. Jones was so principled in the way that he wanted to play. He would venture through the middle, but he dropped off whenever Robertson went up onto the left-hand side. You don't start this way. You don't start necessarily in the 4-1-4-1. If Jones is in midfield, Wirtz starts out on the right wing, Kerkez at right back. Wirtz maybe, starting on the left wing. You start with Szoboszlai, Ekitike, you've got Chiesa. You have that option of transitioning into that 4-1-4-1. Like I said, if Kerkez comes up here to support, Jones drops back, Gravenberch stays there. You've then got Wirtz who's going to cut inside to this area here. Szoboszlai moves into left attacking midfield. Kerkez is bombing up and down. Chiesa on the right, and then you've got Ekitike, and then suddenly you've got so many more attacking options going forward. You've got 5 different options that could I'm just trying to find the never mind, doesn't matter. But yeah, you've got 5 different attacking options in this whole midfield that can venture forward. Depending on the Brighton team, Danny Welbeck, for example, just as before we do close off the stream, I want to take a moment to actually look at how good of a player he's been this season, because Danny Welbeck has been phenomenal for Brighton. And it's not just his goal scorer, and he's on 7 goals, which is mental. It's Danny Welbeck. How old is Danny Welbeck? He is 35. I feel like he's been around for years. I know he has, but it's these areas here. It's his passing. He is one of those deep attackers who will come back, create space for the others, provide for Minte, Matoma if he was playing. He will offer you a deep attacking threat. And sorry, bear with me, guys. 1 sec. I do apologize. I got a spam call. Thought it might have been something important. I got a spam call. Thank you so much for that. The people who decided to ring me while I'm in the middle of it as a private number to try and sell me window insulation. Really, really appreciate that. But no, Danny Welbeck, he will come deep. He offers you something creative and different. And he will provide for everyone around him. He's a goal scorer, but he's good in the air. And he is also one of the best passers in the league statistically. Passes attempted in the top 13%, live ball passes top 10%, switches of play. 0.09 a match isn't big, but for strikers, it puts him in the top 13% in the Premier League. Passes completed, defensive actions in goal creating actions, tackles in the attacking third. He's a good presser, and he's also a great interceptor. So he's going to be someone who is going to push Liverpool from the front and offer Brighton their first line of defence. And I don't want Van Dijk and Konate to be pulled out of position because of Danny Welbeck. That's something they've been susceptible to at points this season, is going straight for the attacker when they do drop deep, and then the wingers have free rein to run into. Danny Welbeck can't trick us into doing that. That's not a sentence I thought I'd be saying in 2025, but here he is with 7 goals, and he's one of Brighton's best players, arguably their best player this season. And the final comment before we do shoot, who would have thought we would sweat buckets going up against Brighton and bottom of the table Wolves? Such as football. Hey, we have to win tomorrow. And tomorrow I will be touching more on the Brighton game, going through all that, going through my thoughts on the match, how I think we're going to... I mean, we touched on the lineup potentially, but today has been predominantly the Mo Salah discussion, the Mo Salah talk. Is he going to go with the squad? I don't think he is. I think this is Salah done, if I'm being completely honest. I don't see him coming out and offering a heartfelt apology after everything that's gone on in the past week with Slot, maybe weeks for everything that's gone on behind the scenes. I don't see him coming out and ultimately saying to the club, look, I apologise, I'm willing to sit on the bench. It won't happen. He's not going to do it just as he's going to AFCON. He's going to drag this out, go to AFCON, and then him and Remy Abbas are going to have free reign to do what they want from abroad. And it's a shame. It's a crying shame that we're in this position, but it's where we are. And there's not a vast amount that we can really do about it. He is not going to be involved in this Liverpool squad for Brighton, I don't think. Slaughter said there is a discussion today. It's only taken us 6 days to get to that point. 6 days to get to the point where there's a talk with Salah, whether or not he'll be in the squad. Yeah, Salah's telling his family to come because he doesn't know what's going to happen. Who knows? And I think this could definitely be the last time, or we've seen the last time, that Salah plays in Liverpool shirt. And I don't think he'll be in against Brighton. There's no Gakpo. There is a Chiesa. There may be an Endo. We're not too sure. But that's going to wrap it up for today. As I say, I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. So make sure you click like and subscribe. Leave any comments, feedback, thoughts, suggestions, all of it in the comments down below. Let me know what you think ahead of the Brighton match. Do you think Salah will be there? Do you think he'll start? Do you think he'll be on the bench? If he does go, what's your thoughts? And make sure that you subscribe to Anfield Index. Go over to AnfieldIndex.com, and it was always Liverpool.com Substack for all the latest news, articles, updates, stories, everything that you can think of behind the scenes of Liverpool Football Club and the things that we see. It's an amazing, amazing page. So much great content coming out. We just have Molby on the spot. Yeah, Molby, Liverpool icon, Liverpool legend, coming out and talking about the Mo Salah instance and ahead of the Brighton match. We've got David Lynch off and appearing on the channel. We've got loads of stuff, so make sure you come and subscribe. And like someone says, cheers, Lou. Great stream. Take it easy. I do try. Dave's better at this than I am. So everyone, let Dave know that I said that next time you see him. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all